As we hear the text for today, on this Children's Sabbath, I am mindful of this fellow Naaman, a great general, someone with great power, who has leprosy. Now, we don't know how severe his skin condition was, but we do know that he was quite concerned about this. And yet, there is one small voice who has been taken hostage as a foreigner and now is serving another woman, who lifts up and says, well, if you were to go to my land, to this prophet, then maybe you will be made well. One small voice in a foreign land, one small voice, prisoner to the circumstances that have been. And yet it is this voice that becomes a voice for healing for those mighty and powerful. This past week in Minnesota, there was more than one small voice. There were thousands of voices from across our state who were treated to a great extravaganza, so to speak, on We Day. Some of you heard about this in the news. But there were youth who had been working to get money for drilling wells in Haiti. And there were children who had worked with those who had mental and physical disabilities. And there were those who had done book drives and those who had gone out into the world to do incredible things, both near and far. And on that one day, their voice was being lifted up to say, here are people who can bring healing and hope to the world. Are you listening? Are you listening to those small voices that when coming together become a large and resounding wave in our communities and in our world? What an incredible opportunity for us to think about on this day as we celebrate our children. I think of the way that our children and youth are making a difference in this place and in this world. Do you know that they have raised over $200 to go out to Pine Ridge to help get a ladder and tools? Because when two of our youth were out there with two chaperones from Calvary and others from our partner congregations at Our Savior's and Bethel, they saw that there wasn't easy access to a ladder or some of the other tools that were needed to carry out simple tasks. So we've raised it. Little by little, they have said, we are going to make this happen, here and now. And we have youth who have been doing incredible things in terms of artwork, both for us in worship, as well as in the community. Those who knit and crochet, those who make paper airplanes, those who make sure that we are connected with others in relationship. Look around at the children that are here. Can you believe that 15 years ago, there was one? And now we look around and we celebrate what they are doing in this place and throughout the world. And the question is, still, are we always willing to listen? You see, Naaman goes off. He does what this young girl has told him to do or has been passed on to him, and he goes. But when he finally then encounters the prophet, and here's what this step is, he balks. You're telling me to go down to this little stream. It's dirty, not crystal blue and clear like the great rivers we have in our country. And you're asking me to go there and wash 7 times? Why do that? You really think it's going to clear me of the leprosy? And yet, when he's pushed, those around him say, well, if you were to go and do something much more difficult, say climb the highest mountain, or sail across the sea, you would go and do that. So you're telling us you're just not going to walk down to the stream because you think yourself too good or this water too dirty to make it happen? How are the voices telling us, little by little, to take a small step today? How many of the voices here are saying, in my school, our classes are kind of overcrowded. Our teachers are a little overwhelmed. Do you think that might be saying, is there a way that there are other adults who could come in and help with reading or volunteer in our schools? Or are there kids in our midst saying, there are kids who are from Somalia and kids from South Minneapolis and they don't always get along. What can we do? Do you think together they might be inviting us to be part of the solution? To say, will you help us to think about what it means to be in relationship with those who maybe speak a little differently or dress a little differently, but people that we want to get to know because they're part of our community? What are the invitations today that come through in subtle and not so subtle ways from these small voices? And I want to take us into the gospel because I think this becomes the hard part. You see, the gospel is about 10 lepers searching for healing and hope, perhaps. But there's something about lepers in the Hebrew Bible and then in the times of Jesus and on afterwards, where the lepers are put out of family and community. As soon as there is a blemish on your skin that looks like it might be white turning purple, you're put outside. You don't want to pass it on to others. So what does it mean for these 10 lepers to have been put out of their homes and their families, not welcomed into their villages, and rather having their own little place on the outside where they come together?